everyone. My name is Alexandre Pacheco da Silva, and this is Law and Technology series, a set of interviews with incredible scholars to discuss the impact of new technologies in the legal field. I'm a law professor at São Paulo Law School at Getúlio Vargas Foundation, and I coordinate with Professor Marina Pfefferbaum, the Center for Education and Research and Innovation. Today, we have Professor Sylvia Papadopoulos, who is a full-time associate professor in the Department of Private Law, as well as the acting director of the Center for Intellectual Property Law at the University of Pretoria. She holds the degrees BLC, LLB, LLM, cum laude, and LLD from University of Pretoria, and she also is an admitted as advocate of the High Court of South Africa. Professor Papadopoulos specializes in the field of law and technology and other fields as cyber law, digital law, internet law, and she has published a number of peer-reviewed national and international publications, presented both national and international conferences, and has made a regular appearances on television, radio. So not only that, but that's one of the reasons that we invited her to be a part of this project. And she also is an author and editor of leading books in this topic. So thank you very much to be a part of this project, to accept our invitation, and just to remind our audience of the dynamics of this interview. We divided this interview into 3 questions, and Professor, feel free to answer each one of them with your thoughts and ideas regarding the subject. So the first question that I have for you, Professor, it is, how do you see that technology is impacting the legal field?
Well, I think, you know, how technology is impacting the legal field, it's impacting it in so many ways. It's hard to put it in a nutshell. But I think, you know, things like the automation of routine tasks, that would be in a legal practice itself. Legal analytics, it's enabling for new law firms to start up in a virtual law practice kind of environment. It saves you on overheads and offices. To things like blockchain, smart contracts, data privacy, cybersecurity, those are all the new issues that are coming up in legal practice. But if you're looking at the legal field in a broader way, so things like legal research and analytics. So you are now looking at AI-assisted legal research. You are looking at case management software, chatbots and virtual assistants. You are looking at online dispute resolution. A number of systems have gone to a pure online kind of dispute resolution. Legal education and training has taken up in a big way in simulations, virtual realities, e-learning courses, and then to the various aspects of law itself. Intellectual property law is probably one of the areas that has been significantly affected by technology, but also things like data privacy. That is something that is definitely gained prominence under law and technology. Issues like digital rights management, RegTech, legal ethics and responsibilities around using this kind of technology. And I think one of the very big positive upspins is access to justice, enabling access to justice, access to the courts, and generally just upgrading the legal system in terms of efficiency and productivity. I think that is more or less how it's dealing with it in the legal field.
That's very interesting to discuss, because it allows me to actually present the second question. That is there a field of study that we can call law and technology, because usually when we are discussing issues regarding law and technology, we have a lot of scholars that would say that we need to actually address problems regarding technology in traditional fields of law. For example, this is a problem of contract, this is a problem of criminal law. But from, I would say, from some time, we are starting to discuss this idea that it's emerging a field that we can call law and technology, especially if we can actually establish some peculiarities, some characteristics that we can attribute to this field. Do you consider that there is a field that we can call law and technology?
I definitely do, and having written textbooks, it's usually dealt with in your introductory chapter, and I know it stands as a controversial field because, as you've pointed out, many scholars feel that you can deal with these aspects in adapting contract law or adapting privacy law or whatever the case may be. But I've worked many years in it, and I've come to realize that it is a distinct field of knowledge. And it's not just the law that is required. You also need a very clear understanding of the technology that you are dealing with. You cannot apply legal principles if you don't understand the underlying technology that you are dealing with. And in that way, it's evolving into a sort of a distinct character, because you do need that technical knowledge. And you're also seeing it as a field or an area where you have a confluence of legal principles. So a problem is not just fitted neatly into the subcategory of contracts or of privacy. And you see them being multifaceted, integrating different principles from different areas of the law. And in that sense, it is a distinct legal field, because if you deal with contracts, there are the rules that go with contracts, the legal principles and the precedents that we apply. But here we're seeing this merging and mixing and borrowing from these different boxes that we usually put law into. So law and technology is forging, and it has been forging a path as a distinct field of knowledge, in my view. There are unique and unprecedented legal issues that crop up. They're not always dealt with in terms of existing legal principles. And one very good example is if you're dealing with trademarks and domain names. Many of the issues that arise in disputes around domain names are unique to law and technology. They are not easily dealt with under trademark law. For example, there can only be one particular domain name on a particular level. So there can only be one coca-cola.com. That is not so with trademark law. And there is one of your fundamental issues with dealing with law and technology, is it doesn't fit nicely into trademark law, because you can have different trademarks or the same trademark in different jurisdictions. So that's a uniquely online digital tech and law issue that needs to be dealt with. And there are a number of examples. I can go on for a long time on all of those examples.
That's very, very, very interesting, because one thing that we are discussing, not only in our school, but in other schools that we are actually in direct contact to try to imagine and try to discuss possibilities to change our curriculum, to change the possibilities to structure our legal training in a different way to deal with those new technologies. It leads me to our final question. I think one of the most important ones for this interview, it is that what should a law school do regarding the impact of technology in the legal field? Because we discussed a lot of things, and I totally agree with you regarding this idea of our students and a legal professional should understand the underlying technology to discuss how to apply legal principles in a case, but how can we restructure if it's needed? How can we restructure legal training to adapt to this new scenario? What should a law school do regarding the impact that you mentioned before?
I can speak to it. I'm trying to think back now. Here in South Africa in 2016, we had a meeting of all the law schools in Southern Africa. So not just South Africa, it was also our neighbors. And it was decided that law and technology had to be a compulsory part of the LLB curriculum. And the reason for that was to empower students, give them the confidence and the knowledge to go out to practice and not be afraid of engaging with technology, engaging with aspects of law that involve technology. And a very simple example was given to us when we were motivating for that as a compulsory part of the curriculum was, in many cases, criminal cases, for example, prosecutors were shying away from evidence and trying to, get around electronic evidence because they just didn't understand the technology. They didn't know how to challenge the evidence or present the evidence in a compelling way. And therefore, you're not giving access, you're not giving justice to your clients, you're not serving your clients properly. But also in the corporate world, if you're dealing with, for example, a fintech company, they need you to understand the technology, their business methodology, and to advise them on regulatory risk and compliance. That is what they come to you before. And you need that basic. So based on that knowledge and based on that kind of understanding, it was decided that we would make it a compulsory part of all law programs. And it has really made a huge difference. During COVID, our courts went fully online. And who was at the forefront of that? It was the young lawyers who'd come through. It was, the young lawyers which implemented it first, which pushed for it, which got the system going and running. It was part of a concerted effort. The whole of Southern Africa, our neighbors, implemented compulsory law and technology courses. And then we upgraded that into sort of a basic, what is code, law and code kind of practical, that they can actually see the technology at work. And I think, it's grown in popularity. I only had, when I started 15 years ago, I only had about 6 or 7 students in my class. Now I have to cap the number because I can't, there is a demand and they realize the importance of that. So I'm going to stop there. But it's in education, it's not only your curriculum that needs to include it, it's practical training, it's integrating it into your learning curves so that they come out of there confident, well-versed in the technology and not afraid of it.
That's very interesting, especially the last part that you mentioned, because I'd like to end this interview with a message coming from you, but a message that is direct for students, not only in Brazil, but in different parts of the world that will actually see this interview, regarding this fear that a lot of students, especially here in Brazil, that I hear frequently, this idea that is there a space or is there a room for me in the future as a lawyer regarding the new technologies that are coming and at least in some extent could harm or in a way, still the activities that usually were passed for students in law firms, because a lot of our students are asking us and are trying to see if there will still be a room for them to actually develop and grow as a legal professional at the future. So I'd like to end this interview with the last thought that you actually share with us, this idea that they need to actually be more confident on their abilities regarding digital subjects, especially if we envision a better future for legal professionals in the future.
I do. I don't think there will ever be to me, I don't think there will ever be no need for a human face. Human interaction is a part of being human. And I know there's a lot of fear and worry about what AI will do in jobs, in our ability to do a profession that we love. But I think, we can't run away. We can't put our head in the sand and pretend it's not there. We need to adapt. We need to embrace, and we need to empower ourselves. Yes, it's great. I don't have to read through 50-page High Court judgments to get to one point. And that is an advantage. It means I can do more work in a day, I can see more clients, and I can earn more money. So we need to leverage it in ways that are useful to us. It also necessitates a change in behavior. In that, for example, I often use children as an example. In the early days, when we used to log on to the internet or buy something from a website or interact anywhere, it was our full name, Sylvia Papadopoulos. But if you watch children at the moment, and you watch when they first go online, and it's early, they are already creating avatars for themselves. They are using gamer tags or name tags that are not linked to their name. Now, that is a change in behavior, a definite change in human behavior. And it's things like that that will change as we grow with AI and the rest of technology. Our behavior and the way that we interact will change with that. And I already say, there's a lot of fear around AI, and I understand it. But if we're going to control it and we're going to use it in a meaningful way, it'll come from the younger generation. It'll come from our children who've already started adapting their online behavior.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Professor. It was a wonderful interview. We appreciated your participation here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.